Okay. Hello, guys. So I wanted to do a little thing here talking about like it's gonna be a little bit about like positioning in general, but it's mostly like team fighting, and mostly from the point of view of a support, and like specifically like a squishy support. But hopefully you can apply it to other roles if you don't play support. Let me know if like the sound or the video or something is bad. So I'll like give some practical tips hopefully, and like talk about what the mindset you should have, and like some common mistakes that I think a lot of people do and stuff. And yeah, so this is my replay, or like a replay from a game I played a few days ago. I'm the disruptor in this game, and yeah, I'm gonna show some examples because I played some fights well, and then I did some mistakes as well. So like, yeah, we can look at everything. 1 second. Yeah, all right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just like a mindset thing, and that's that you need to remember that you are important as a support. Like even though you're position 5 and people think it's like sacrificial role or whatever, in the team fights you can't keep thinking about it like that in the team fights, in my opinion. Like in the fight you have a role, you have a job to do, and you need to like make sure you do that. You can't just sacrifice yourself. Like it's not like you're gonna have a lot more impact if you stay alive. So like just a little thing. So like the heroes we typically play, it's like if you look at Disruptor for example, he has like 4 really strong spells, right? That they're just strong regardless of his net worth. Like if you compare it to like AM or PA or something, their spells are kind of bad in comparison, right? But it just to show that a lot of these heroes that we play in support roles, their spells are really, really strong, like in a vacuum. So we need to be able to use them in a good way to have impact, right? Like that's how we have impact. Yeah, and another reason why you need to like think that you are important is like you are often squishy. Like from the enemy's team point of view, you are like the best kill, right? Because you're so squishy compared to how important your spells are. Like if they can kill me as disruptor before I use a static storm, that's perfect for them, and that's like the disaster for me. So that's why in the fights we should not keep thinking of ourselves as like a sacrificial role. Like in the team fights, yes, maybe we are +4 or +5, but that's like just the farming distribution or whatever. Like in the fight, I think you should think, okay, I'm like 1/5 of the team, you know. So you need to you need to have a fifth impact, if you can say it like that, at least. Yeah. All right. Okay, so the next sort of mindset thing, or maybe like a rule of thumb that I like to use, is that you can sort of measure your impact by how many spells you cast, like how many times you can get your spells off. So for example, if I manage to cast my spells and then stay alive, like I go hide somewhere or I back off a little bit, and then I come back in and I like glimpse another guy, or I use my E spell, kinetic field again, then I will have a lot of impact in the fights if I can keep throwing a lot of spells. And I think this is a really good mindset to have, like trying to get as many casts off as possible, and have that sort of be a metric for how good you play the fight. I think that can be helpful. And I just want to say it's like always rule of thumbs, these things I'm saying. So for example, if you're a Bane and you can grip an enemy Storm Spirit and you're both gonna die, like of course that's good. Even though you only casted one spell, it's like really, really good. So it's like a rule of thumb. But yeah, if you can get your spells off multiple times, that's generally like really, really good. So and I will show an example. Yeah, actually let's show that now. So yeah, so I said this is a replay I played, a game I played a few days ago. So I had some good fights and then I had some fuck ups. So let's see. I'll just go through this normal speed first. Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit, and then we can go over this like storm. So I glimpsed one guy, I force-staffed, I used my spell. I'm using my spells, I'm backing off because it's on cooldown. Now it's off cooldown, I'm going back in. I use my glimpse once more. I use my kinetic field for the like third or second or third time. I force-staff one, like the second time in this fight. Keep fighting, another kinetic field. Now I'm like out of mana, but I'm still like feeling in the fight, see what's happening. Maybe I will get mana. Yeah, I got mana. Okay, now I used it like a fourth kinetic field. Still kiting. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I can use this again. Yeah, I can. I'm ready to dust if needed. And then that's the end of the fight. So like, of course, yeah, we can go over that again, like in slow-mo later. But it's just to show that if this mindset thing of like getting off as many casts as possible. Like if you look, you can look at the fight recap if you're doing, if you're like analyzing afterwards. And you can see here. So I did 1 static storm, 2 thunderstrike, 6 of these fields, and 2 glimpses. And like of course, like every field didn't really, like some of those didn't matter so much, but like I controlled the slardar a little bit. I think it's good to have this mindset because you will have a lot of impact if you just get your spells off, even if it's like less than optimal spell casts. Like it's better it's better to do it, like to try, than to be dead, obviously. Yeah. Okay, and then another thing about trying to stay alive like this, like a sort of a common mistake is that people like they go too all in, like they go, or they're not scared enough for their life or whatever. I'll go more into that later. But basically, if you manage to stay alive in the fight, obviously you're gonna get XP for the kills, you're gonna get gold, assist gold or whatever. And then after the fight, if you're alive, then you will get even more XP and gold maybe, because you can like walk to a lane and push it out, Like now all the lanes are good, so I didn't have to do that. But let's imagine that it's only me and AM alive after this fight. Like maybe AM goes here and I will go mid maybe if the wave was here. And that's even more XP and gold. So if you manage to stay alive like this, obviously you're gonna get extra XP and gold, which is, it creates sort of a positive what you call like feedback loop, like a snowball. Like because you survived that one fight, you're gonna get more gold XP. You're gonna afford your glimmer cape or whatever it is you're trying to buy, which makes the next fight easier to survive because you're like richer. So it like helps you scale a lot. Also, if you play these fights a little, patiently and like yeah, I'll give more like tips how to do it. But basically, if you can manage to stay alive, you're gonna be able to scale more. And yeah, I think we all know if you try to play support, like what happens, like the opposite to that is when you die a lot early game, you become super poor, and then it becomes harder and harder to stay in the fights or to survive the fights, right? So that's like the negative loop. But if you can survive, you're gonna get more gold, get a little bit of farm. After the fights, you just push lanes or whatever. So that helps you scale. And if you look here in this fight, the clockwork died immediately. He's plus 5. He lost 100 gold, like he had some unreliable gold, so he lost a little bit of gold. He got no XP at all. I got a lot of XP here, or like decent amount, and I got some gold. And I looked at this fight, and I actually would have gotten a lot more XP, but I was out of range of 2 kills. So, I mean, my core, my AM got a lot of XP. So that's also fine. But if I was in range, this would have been a lot higher. But you just see, like it all adds up. All right. So that was just a little bit of like why it's important and like mindset things. So I will give some more real like tips or like practical tips, I guess. So the first thing is that we wanna, like it sounds simple, but we wanna try to use everything from max range if possible. Like that's how to keep good positioning. Like it sounds easy, but I mean it sounds simple, but it can be good to just say this, that yeah, if you always use your spells on max range, that's like you're very unlikely to be out of position then, unless they're like wrapping around you, obviously. And we can also you can also look at like ether lens is a popular item on supports. But if you buy ether lens and then you're not casting spells from max range, then like why did you buy ether lens? It's like a wasted item sort of. It's just a mana item then. Might as well buy Yules or something. So you see what I'm saying? That's why it's important to utilize this max range fully. Like whenever you're attacking, when you're casting spells, and that's in the lane and it's in the rest of the game also. And also a common mistake people do is when they're like clearing waves, pushing out waves here, they're not on max range. They're like standing in the middle of the wave pushing out. That's a common like beginner mistake. And then you're putting yourself in a lot of danger. If you are, for example, Winter Wyvern, you want to stay as far away as possible and boom. And if you want to attack, of course, go attack. But don't stand in the middle. All right. And then another one is, or like a principle that might be useful, is that like the principle of casting a spell and then like backing off. Like, and I'll show this fight again because I did it all the time. Like you cast spell and then you walk back. Then you walk back in whenever you want to cast a new spell, and then when you did it, you back off. Like you keep that. Then you keep your distance. Then you're like, then you're keeping max range because you're slightly outside. Then you walk into max range, cast, and walk back out. So then you're like keeping even better positioning than max range spells, But I'll show this. And you can even you can even hide, if everything is on cooldown, you can hide. So actually, let me say one more thing before I show this again. Yeah, you should be very careful with auto-attacking. I think that's a pretty common mistake that support players do. They like auto-attack too much in team fights, especially now. I would say like almost the later it goes, the more dangerous it becomes, because and the more, I mean, the later the game goes, the more dangerous it becomes, and also like the more useless your attacks become, usually, because they are so tanky. So like a disruptor auto attack is not gonna do anything. So early game, obviously, auto attacks from supports are very impactful. Or like in the lane, that's most damage from the supports. We just auto attack all the time to harass. But then in the here in the fights, it's not really that impactful for me to show myself and auto attack. It doesn't do nearly enough damage, and when I auto attack, I need to like put myself in a dangerous spot, and obviously every time I attack, they're gonna see where I am, like, cause it's a mechanic. When you attack someone, the enemy team gets vision of you, so you reveal yourself, and like for not that much damage. So usually it can be better to just keep your distance, go hide, and then go back in and throw a spell. Okay, so let's look at this fight again. I'll do slow-mo this time. I like pause and shit. Okay, there's gonna be like a little bit of replay bugs, whatever. Okay, so there's a fight. I just look, okay, glimpse immediately, and then walk in there, see what's going on. Okay, that spell did nothing, but I mean, I'm not gonna say that all my spellcasts are perfect, of course not, but just the concept of like keeping my distance and getting multiple spells off. And then I static storm here. You could argue this is also like a weird thing, but I think it was like to protect, like maybe if someone blinks in or like void chrono. Also he can't rocket flare. I think it might have saved him actually. Rocket flare could have killed him here. So okay, but like let's keep. Wait, actually I'm gonna. Yeah, so I force staff him. And here we see like static storm, and then immediately I'm clicking back. I'm like, okay, I did my thing, now fucking keep my distance, because I don't know where void is or whatever. Cast spell and then walk back. And then I'm looking, seeing what's happening. Okay, he died, still a fight. Ooh, like there's that guy. Good thing I was like keeping my distance and not like standing over here auto attacking on the clock. Okay, cast E doesn't do that much, but okay, it did a little bit, because now he's stuck for a little while. I'm keeping my distance, and now my glimpse is back. I walk back in. Thunderstrike, and then immediately like walk back again. Look, I'm walking back, and then I'm walking back in when the field is up. Okay, field, and then walk back. You see, I'm clicking like over here. I'm even like, you can barely see my hero. I'm like walking into the trees here. And now it's kind of awkward. Now I'm like out of mana. I have no cooldowns at all, but I'm like just chilling here, trying to keep distance. I'm ready to like force staff him. There I tried to force staff him. It's always hard to see where they're looking, so I was just trying to get him away. Didn't do that much. And then run back, because I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna right click. Okay, E, and then again turn around and like walk back. I'm like always casting a spell and then walking back. And now like, yeah, I can't go in there to help him. I have no mana, I have nothing. I'm just chilling. Standing still. See what's happening. Okay, cast that again and then turn around again, you know? Cast, turn around, like keep your distance. And here, this is like the first time I auto-attacked this fight. Here. And like really, you see like how, okay, boom. I don't know if you can see the quality, but it says 50 damage. So I dealt 50 damage to this slardar. He has 2400 HP. He's gonna regen 30 in a second. Like, it definitely doesn't do enough. Like 50 damage. It's not really worth showing myself. So I think, yeah, that sort of shows how sort of useless it is. Obviously, sometimes you can do it. Okay, and then I cast once more. And whatever, now it's sort of, the fight is sort of over. But yeah, I think that showed like some concepts, like don't auto-attack too much. I just did it once and it didn't do anything. Like, and I would say like that auto-attack, you could say it was a mistake, but like it didn't matter, obviously. But yeah, mainly this thing of cast a spell and then walk back, and like, yeah. Okay, let's see. And yeah, another sort of, how should I say, concept or whatever, or something you can think about is this, like they're like enemy heroes, they have like sort of zones around them, or like a circle, where if you go inside that circle, you're gonna die. Like that, if you go inside the circle, you're out of position, and they can like kill you if they're fast enough. I don't really think about it that much. I mean, it's more of a like intuitive thing, but if you watch your own replay afterwards, I think you can often like pinpoint, oh, that's where I stepped out. I'll show here. Very often in lane you can see. Okay, so now I'll go slow-mo. So now like I'm trying to attack this guy. Now here obviously I'm out of position now. I'll actually go back. So here I'm fine. I'm still fine, I think. If I turn back now, I'm still fine. I'm still fine. Not okay. Now I'm like, yeah. Now I'm out of position. I don't know. This is sort of like a weird thing to explain, but hopefully you see this. That like, I think this is like more useful when you're like looking at the replay, but in the laning phase, it's often sort of obvious if you think about it like this way. Like, oh, okay, this was the line that I couldn't step over, and then when you do that, you die. Like, that's usually why you die in the lane. The support, you stepped out too far. So I'll show again. I'm just trying to right-clicking him here, but I'm like not reacting to him walking this way. So like actually, look, I got a right-click here, but it's like half of the max range, or maybe even like a third. Like I'm way, way, way too close, you know? So I guess this is sort of the concept of like, yeah, you want to max range everything. So I didn't max range this, and then you will die, obviously. Yeah, so let's see. And then a little bit about like vision, because if you think that you're fighting into vision, obviously you are in a lot of trouble. So then you need to be even more careful. Like if you're, like for example here, this is another time I fucked up. It's very likely they have a ward here, and I don't know where they are. Like this is a mistake I do a lot, and I want to de-ward it because I think like, okay, there will be a ward. I mean, it's likely to be a ward here, so I want to de-ward it. But if there is a ward there, they saw me a long time ago, and I will just feed. So I think this is a very common mistake. So first of all, I should have walked here. I should have like de-warded it from here. This is safer. But I probably shouldn't even walk down here. I should like, because this is Void Spirit, is very elusive. If I keep my distance, I can still have impact in the fight, even if they catch him. Now I just die. So, yeah, I don't know what the tip was here, but yeah, sort of. If you think there's vision, you need to be very careful, and that's also why you saw me like hide in trees here. Like that can be very good. And a final thing about that is that you can consider is like it's easier to fight during night time if you're a squishy support like Disruptor. Like it's much easier to hide than, you know, because you have a target on your back. So like the enemy team really wants to kill you first. So if it's nighttime, it's just much easier to avoid them. So that's a small thing you can also think about. Yeah, it's easier to fight if it's nighttime. So basically, try to keep max range. Try to stay hidden as much as you can, and do this thing like throw a spell and then walk backwards, or even hide if you have no cooldowns, you know. And be careful about auto-attacking. That's like my tips, I guess. So I'll show another. So here first I got a good glimpse, cast all my spells, boom boom boom. Okay, I'm gonna like right click him once, but like you see it just doesn't do anything. And now I see that there's a lot of people coming. So instead of standing here like right clicking, I'm gonna walk back. I cast my spells and then I walk back. You know, even hiding in the trees. Look, even if they somehow have a ward here or something, they don't see me. So like, just make it hard for slardar or whatever. I'm not smoked, by the way. It's a bug. And then when the fight like goes this way, I wanna stay in range. You know, I wanna be close enough to use my spells, but I want to. Yeah, I mean, be on the edge of the fight. Close enough to use my spells, but far away to not get jumped. So now the spells are coming off cooldown. And I survived. So, I mean, unfortunately I fucked up all my spells, like I didn't catch either of these guys. But just the concept of surviving, rather than standing here in vision, out-attacking the void, I go hide. And then I walk over, and then I at least had the chance, like at least I have an opportunity to cast my spells once again, you know. So even if it didn't work here, it's like still good that I had the opportunity. All right, so yeah, so some like common mistakes, yeah, just auto-attacking too much, in my opinion, and obviously some heroes you can do this on, like if you're like silencer or enchantress, those aren't really auto attacks because it like those actually hurt. But if you're like a disruptor or oracle, you know, these heroes very rarely right click in team fights. You know, past the early game, I would say. Another mistake is like, I don't know what to call it, like tunnel vision, or like sometimes you just see a kill and or like the most common example, or like one of the classic examples, is like maybe you're high grounding here, you're like trying to boom boom boom, you're trying to kill the racks. Somehow some of your team, like one of your teammates, go very deep, like maybe he gets hooked, skewered back, maybe he just blinks in because he's insane, or maybe he has aegis and like just goes in, you know. Basically he goes very deep, and then all the people who were standing here, they're like, oh shit, there's a fight here, and they just walk up, you know. This happens so often. They're like, oh, I need to go into range of the fight. Everyone walks in, we're all in vision, and then they get like 3-man RP or whatever, you know. I think that's happened to you probably. So like this is just some weird like instinct we all have, like, oh, need to go there, and it's like your brain just turns off and you just boom 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 boom, and that like forget about everything, positioning and everything, you know. So I don't know what my tip is there, but like don't try not to do that. And I still do that sometimes. I do it especially with words, like I showed this one. I just, oh, there might be a word here, walk the word, and you know, I just die. Let's see. Yeah, here's another. I don't know if this is. It's a little bit similar. So like I saw the invoker running away. I'm trying to do like a big 4-staff sentry glint spake. So like sometimes you just like, this is just what happens when you sort of tunnel vision on one thing. You completely forget, like, okay, there's a guy with chrono in the game. But yeah, I don't know what to call that. Like when your brain turns off. Like try to always keep this positioning in mind. And then another common mistake is that people aren't like patient enough, or they are sort of either 100% fighting, like full commit, or they're like not at all fighting. And yeah, it's not either or, like either we fight 100% or we like run away. It's much like, it's a sliding scale, you know. So you can poke them a lot, you can like throw spells from afar, see what's happening, like try to bait out spells, or you can let one guy go in and like be patient. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good example here, but I think that's another common mistake, that people are like too much. Either we go full, we're like fully committed, or either we're not. Either that or we're not fighting at all. When in reality, you should be like, okay, we can go a little bit. Like, if you're PA, for example, you don't need to blink in BKB like on the first guy you see. You can just throw a dagger and then walk away. You know, see what happens. That's a good example. And then another common mistake is that you're showing yourself too much, and that's like sort of related to the auto-attacking thing, I guess. Because when you're auto-attacking, you are showing yourself, but yeah, just as a rule of thumb, you want to stay hidden as much as possible. Just makes it harder for the enemy team. A very common mistake. This isn't like team fight, but yeah, it's common. It's that let's say I'm Radiant and some of my teammate is pushing this wave out, and then I also, like if I was Wyvern or Clock, then I also walk in here and like help him push the wave out, and that's just not worth it. Like then you're just showing two people for no reason. It's better to just stay hidden here, right? Give the enemy team as little as little information as possible. And also a lot of the time, like people just like walk past creep waves. Like if someone wants to go from this spot to this spot and someone is clearing a wave here, maybe just wait 2 seconds for them to clear the wave and then you can go. Stuff like that. Like just needlessly showing yourself is also a common mistake. Yeah. And then I wanted to say one thing also. When you're against, like I was talking a lot about like positioning, trying to stay max range, you know, stuff like that. But versus certain heroes, it's actually like impossible to outrange them, you know, if they are global, if they're, for example, Storm Spirit and Spectre or something in the enemy lineup. You're never gonna be able to stay far away enough to like survive that. If they wanna go on you, they can. So then what you can do in those situations is that you're positioning yourself close to a strong teammate so that they protect you that way. Like you can stand close to a carry or something. So then if they commit on you, that guy can just start dealing damage right away. That's something you can keep in mind. Like if it's impossible to outrange them, you can let your team protect you. Like stay close to a damage dealer, so to like discourage them from jumping you. But then, yeah, I said this like that it's like if they kill you and you didn't cast a single spell, that's like obviously a disaster. But versus some lineups, they can do that if they really want. But like then you, for example, if they have Storm and Spectre, but then your goal is just stay in a like have a positioning such that if they go on you and kill you, the fight after is good. Like, you know, the Storm expended all his mana, or like they had to come close to a carry and take a lot of damage. You know, I'm just saying that some games you can't position so that you will survive every time. Like if the enemy team if the enemy team absolutely wants to kill you first, sometimes they will be able to, but you just need to try to punish them for that in some way. Like stand close to the carry, as I said, so that they're gonna take a bunch of damage doing it or whatever. And then if they choose to do that, then you can only say like, okay, then it's not a disaster. That's not the same. That's not the same as like walking up. If I'm like disruptor and I walk up high ground first, and I get blown up in 1 second, I have no buyback. That's a real that's a real disaster. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was all I had. So like the most important things to remember is this sort of mindset of not thinking that you're like a sacrificial role in the team fights. Like in the team fights, you are just as important. You know, you need to do your job in the team fight. So don't think of yourself as I'm just a pos 5 or whatever. Like You are 1/5 of the team. You need to do your job in the fights. You have broken spells. You need to cast them. And then this that like using this as a metric for how well you did, sort of like how many spellcasts did I get off. I think that sort of helps you. I think that's like a helpful thing also. And then trying to stay max range and this thing of like cast a spell then walk back, cast a spell then walk back is what I would say is the most important. All right, do you guys have any questions? Or anything I didn't explain well?
Sorry, I only got here like in time for the team fight sections. Was there anything you said before that?
It was mostly about team fighting. I did show
Because I
like.
was wondering,
Sorry.
and I was just wondering like if there's a section about like essentially being the sacrifice. I know in team fights that your job is to cast and well do your best to not die, but like outside of team fights, in terms of for example the macro game.
Oh yeah. Okay. So sometimes you can sacrifice yourself on post 5, of course, and it can be a good play. So for example, a good play is if like nothing's happening, you're not gonna make a play or whatever, and your carry is like farming ancient, farming triangle. You can like stand here and you can break smokes, if you're not doing anything else. Why not? And then if they smoke and they run up into you, okay, they're gonna kill you, but then you're happy. That's a good sacrifice. Then your carry runs away and they waste the time because they have like 3 people in one place. So that's one time you can sacrifice yourself. And then obviously like some heroes will sacrifice themselves for their carry. So if you're playing like Venge Spirit or if you're playing Io, like sometimes you will end up giving your life for the core, obviously, or for the carry. So then that's of course a good play. But I think as a rule of thumb, like in general, it's helpful to not think too much that you are, just a pos 5 in these fights. Generally, you will have a lot more impact if you stay alive, let someone else go in, cast your spells, get like all your spells off, maybe even multiple times, compared to like just going in, giving vision for like 2 seconds and just dying. It's much more like, how should I say, like, yeah, much more common that you will have more impact if you stay alive. And then you can do, but it's sort of like advanced plays. If you say, okay, I have TP ready, I have my buyback ready, I will just go in here and like just see if they're here, or like if I die, I just buy back and TP in. You can do that also, but that's sort of a more advanced play. I don't know. It's usually better to keep your distance and don't expect to die. Like obviously try to stay alive. I don't know if that answered your question, but I would say sometimes you can sacrifice yourself, but in the team fights it's generally better to just consider yourself, I'm just 1/5 of the team, I'm just gonna do my job, not like go in and die immediately. Any other questions?
question. Can you start again from the beginning? Because I couldn't get here in time.
Sorry, but I actually recorded this. I think if it worked, because
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Thank you.
because someone asked me to, so I can send it to you also. I hope it works.
Thank you. If you can, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. But if no other questions, then we're done. Hope you could take something away from this.
Thanks, Chutoy.
No problem. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and yeah, okay. See you.
I would also need a certificate to validate my credits for the university.
Yeah, we're gonna have a test about this, exam.
All right, cheers, Chutoy.
See who listened. Yeah. All right, see ya, guys. There might be an in-house. I don't know. Yeah, bye bye.
To all of us to